hey friends, and welcome back to Equipped for Worship, the podcast for bivocational and small-town church worship pastors and leaders doing big things in small places. I'm your host, Chuck Harris, and I'm so glad you've tuned in today. As we continue through this season, we've been walking through some very real moments in worship ministry, leading through big Sundays, navigating what comes after them, learning how to speak between songs with clarity and purpose, and most recently, how to help hurting hearts sing when people walk into the room carrying more than we can see. And today, we're stepping into something that almost every worship leader has experienced at some point. A quiet room. You step up to lead, the band begins, everything is in its place, and yet the response feels reserved. People are attentive. They're engaged in their own way, but vocally, the room just isn't there. And in those moments, it's easy to start asking internal questions. Is it the songs? Is it the keys? Is it the mix? Is it me? But what if that moment isn't a failure? What if it's an opportunity? An opportunity to teach, to shepherd, and to help your church grow into something Scripture clearly calls them to do, which is sing together. So today, we're going to talk about how to help a quiet room find its voice, how to teach your church to sing in a way that is biblical, pastoral, and built patiently over time. Grab your coffee, and let's dive in. Foundation of this conversation is the understanding that congregational singing is not just a tradition. It is a biblical expectation for the gathered church. Colossians 3:16 says, "Let the word of Christ dwell richly among you in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another through psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts." Now, that's not directed to a select group. It's directed to the whole church. Singing is part of how we respond to God and how we minister to one another. But as we begin to think about why some rooms sing more than others, it's helpful to recognize that not everyone engages with singing in the same way. There's some really insightful research from Dr. Will Bishop, who serves as the chair of worship studies and graduate studies at the Carey University School of Music, that sheds light on this exact topic. What he found is that in almost every church, there are generally three groups of people. There are those who will always sing no matter what. There are those who rarely or never sing. And then there is the largest group, those who may or may not sing depending on the conditions around them. And that third group is where most of your congregation lives. That means the question is not just why aren't people singing, but what conditions are we creating that either helps or hinders that participation? It also helps us check our assumptions. It can be easy, especially for those of us who love music, to assume that people who don't sing are disengaged or even unspiritual. But that's not necessarily true. Some people are listening intentionally. Some are reflecting on the lyrics. Some don't feel confident in their voice. And some simply connect to God in different ways in that moment. So instead of judging the room, we begin by understanding it. And once we understand it, we can lead it more faithfully. If we're going to help our church sing, we have to understand the real reasons people don't. And many of those reasons are surprisingly practical. Dr. Bishop's research highlights several consistent patterns. One of the most common reasons people don't sing is simply this: they don't know the songs. That's the number one across the board, even among regular attenders. Other common reasons include songs being too high, rhythms being difficult to follow, or the music feeling unfamiliar or stylistically disconnected. There are also personal factors. Many people don't like how their voice sounds. Some are concerned about how others might perceive them. Teenagers, in particular, often carry a lot of anxiety about being heard when they sing. And interestingly, some people prefer to listen and reflect rather than sing out loud. There are also environmental factors. Some people feel the room is too loud. Others feel it's too quiet. That tells us something important here. There is a balance to be found, and not every church naturally lands in that balance. And here's something that really stands out. Many people who don't sing actually say they would sing more if certain things were different. If they knew the songs better, if the songs were more familiar, if the keys were more comfortable, if the environment felt more inviting. So this isn't about unwilling people. It's often about unmet conditions. And that's an encouraging reality because many of those conditions are things we can actually influence as leaders. One of the clearest takeaways from this research is the importance of singability. If you want your church to sing, the songs you choose have to be accessible. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 26 reminds us that everything we do when we gather should be for building up. That includes the songs we lead. If a song consistently makes it difficult for people to participate because of range, rhythm, or structure, it may not be serving the room as well as we think. This means being thoughtful about keys. Many modern worship songs sit higher than what the average person can comfortably sing. It means paying attention to rhythm. Some songs feel natural, while others require more musical familiarity. It means being aware of those little quote-unquote speed bumps that cause people to hesitate. It also means being intentional about how many songs you introduce. If every week brings multiple new songs, people will naturally step back and listen rather than engage. Familiarity builds confidence, and confidence leads to participation. There's also an interesting insight here. Many people, including younger generations, have expressed a desire for fewer modern songs and more familiar or historically rooted songs. Now, that doesn't mean abandoning new music, but it does reinforce the importance of balance. People sing what they know. So part of teaching your church to sing is simply giving them the opportunity to learn. If most of your church falls into that quote-unquote conditional category, then leadership becomes about creating the right conditions for participation. That includes the environment. Volume matters more than we might think, not just from a technical standpoint, but from a participation standpoint. If it's too loud, people feel like their voice doesn't matter. If it's too quiet, they may feel exposed. Finding that balance helps people feel comfortable engaging. It also includes the people around them. Singing is contagious. When people hear others singing, they are more likely to join in. That's part of why strong congregational culture builds over time. It feeds on itself. Your leadership plays a role here as well. When people trust the leadership on the platform, they are more likely to follow. That doesn't mean being flashy or over the top. It means being clear, steady, and inviting. And clarity matters here. If people don't understand or agree with the theology of a song, they will hesitate. That's why doctrinal clarity in song selection is so important. We're not just choosing songs that sound good. We're choosing songs that clearly communicate truth. At the end of the day, you're not trying to manufacture a moment. You're creating an environment where people feel able and invited to participate. One of the most important mindset shifts a worship leader and worship pastor can make is choosing patience over pressure. You are not trying to force your church to sing. You are leading them toward participation over time. And friend, that requires humility. It requires recognizing that some things are outside of your control while others are within it. It also requires adjusting how we think about those who aren't singing. Instead of frustration, we lead with gentleness, encouragement, and understanding. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not get tired of doing good, for we will reap at the proper time if we don't give up." That applies here. Growth takes time. Culture takes time. And people take time. It's also important to remember that participation is more important than performance. It can be tempting to prioritize creativity, prioritize excellence, or keeping up with the trends. But if those things come at the expense of congregational engagement, we've totally missed the point. So stay faithful. Keep leading clearly. Keep choosing songs wisely. Keep inviting people in. And over time, those consistent, intentional steps begin to shape the culture of your church. And one day, you'll look out and realize the room isn't as quiet as it used to be. Friends, helping your church sing is not about fixing a moment. It's about faithfully building something over time. It's about reminding your people that worship is not something they watch, but something they are invited into as participants. Well, next week we're going to talk about coaching your team, how to give feedback in a way that builds people up, strengthens your ministry, and helps your team grow without discouragement. Before we wrap up, I also want to say a quick thank you again to Dr. Will Bishop for his research and his insight on this topic. His work has been incredibly helpful in shaping how we think about congregational singing, and I'm grateful for the clarity it brings to something so many of us are trying to navigate in our churches. If this episode encouraged you, or if you've seen your church grow in this area, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out anytime at chuck@equippedforworship.com. Thank you for serving faithfully where God has planted you. And remember, when your church finds its voice, it's not just louder. It's a sign of a body that is growing together in truth, encouraging one another, and responding to God as He's called us to. Until next time.